You've never heard anyone say people do business with Excel sheets with good data numbers, but that's important. You don't want to cut that out of the equation. Immediately start tracking data. Find out who, are the people you thought were going to listen? Are they actually listening? Or is it a different group? And is that a good or a bad thing? Just because it changed doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. You may have just opened the door to a whole new target audience or consumer base. Whether you're talking to AI, a CEO, or a new client that you just brought on board, you always want to find out what the end goal is so you can build a path to get there. AI is no different. In the business world, we call it customer discovery, but at the end of the day, it's just listening. You're just listening. Yeah. What do they want? What do they care about? What is their why? And is your why and their why aligned? Do you have a solution that's really, truly going to solve the challenge or problem they have? Because if not, then you're just a mismatch. You don't want a client that you're not able to help, and they don't want someone that they're spending money on who can't help them. Don't panic if you haven't done anything with your data for 10 years. Today is the best day to start. You know what I mean? You can start at any time.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Happy Productive Podcast. I'm so excited to talk with my guest today, Miss Becky Freemal. Becky, welcome.
What is up? How are you? Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about our conversation.
Yeah, I am too. You guys, we're going to be diving into some branding stuff, some AI stuff, some data stuff, just all fun stuff today. So I can't wait to dive into this conversation. You guys, if you don't already know Becky, she's an Emmy award-winning journalist, fractional chief marketing officer, and best-selling author. And she brings her strong ability to connect with people through stories, right? Through our stories to the business world. Basically, Becky is just going to help you transform your stories into results. At the end of the day, that's what she is an absolute expert at. And her best-selling book, Brand Voice, is also available on Amazon. And we should have plenty of time to dive into all of that. So welcome, Becky, to the show.
Thank you. I love the introduction. Of course, you probably hear this all the time. Feel like I now have to live up to it. When you hear people introduce you, you're like, wow.
It's like, wow, that sounds really good. So I think as business owners, we all have these just different ways that we get to where we are today in business. So I'd love to hear just a little bit about your journey and how you got to be doing this beautiful work.
I was a journalist, as you brought up, a broadcast journalist for 24, 25 years, something along those lines. Told stories, saw the ratings go through the roof based on the story, or tank based on how stories were done. It could go either way, but let's go through the roof. Let's go on the positive trend. Moved out of broadcast journalism into the corporate world. I did higher ed. I've done marketing and communication for a multitude of verticals. But no matter where I was, I always kind of really heard people leaning into the data. I even got a little bit of a feeling sometimes that people would be like, oh, a storyteller, that's cute. And I thought, at first, I'm going to lean into the data. I'm going to lean into the numbers. Maybe I leaned in a little more than most. I went and got my MBA, leaned in so hard. But as I traversed that path, I realized fairly quickly in my journey, the data is important, but those folks who kind of had that cute feeling kind of were missing a huge element, which was the storytelling. To connect with people and to build your revenue, you have to, as you always hear, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. You've never heard anyone say people do business with Excel sheets with good data numbers, but that's important. You don't want to cut that out of the equation. And that's why my book, what you just brought up, Brand Voice, People Plus Data Drive Results, is the subtitle for a reason. You need the data and you need the people who tell those stories. And stories and all of these so-called soft skills are necessary skills. I dare say power skills, as I heard from our dean of business at Virginia Tech, where I also teach. And I love that she calls them that, power skills, because they are, and they do grow revenue. They are not some soft, if you have time for them type scenario. They are an integral part of your business strategy to move you forward.
Nice. I love that so much. And so talk to us a little bit about where should we be including these powerful stories? Should we be, if we send out an email to our list, if we're posting on social media, if we're, on LinkedIn, where's the right place, the wrong place? Where should you be bringing these stories into your overall marketing strategy?
So I will tell you, there's not going to be a wrong place. I believe that they are all right places, because if you were talking to people, again, the way story has been around for tens of thousands of years, lived through the Industrial Revolution and the knowledge-based economy that we're in and the AI that's coming down the line. The one thing thing that has stayed through all of those tens of thousands of years is story. Now, how we get to that story might be different. I am sure the cave drawings did not look at databases and trend lines and optimize their business forecasts. So that is a big part of your brand. You need to have that brand voice. That is a strategic aspect of when you are first starting a business from the very beginning. What is your purpose? What is your why? And you hear people say that all the time for a reason. It is not meant to like, oh, cliche, roll your eyes. It's there and people ask about your why because you need it. And so when you know your purpose, your story, and then you also know the solution you have and the people who need that solution, then we start building that brand voice and the narratives. And that brand voice is that cohesive foundation, if you will, that launches stories to your investors, stories to potential customers, stories to onboarding, potential employees if you're looking to onboard grow new hires. And I mean, it could be growing new hires, it could be growing revenue, it could be growing your infrastructure. When I say I'm a fractional chief marketing officer and growth strategist, it's important to recognize all the different areas that you need to grow and strengthen within a business. And at the end of the day, it's all part of strategy.
I love it. You said you said many important things there, but two that I want to hit on are the brand voice. And then I'd also love to talk a little bit about AI. So let's start with the brand voice. I know there's people listening that are like, I know what that is, but there's going to be some people listening too that maybe don't know what it is, or you think you know what it is, and maybe you're not quite right. So just talk to us a little bit about like, what is your brand voice and why is it so important?
You want to kind of think about your brand voice as who you are and how you show up in the world. Your brand voice for you personally is the same as your brand voice as an organization. At the end of the day, it's how you show up in the world. How you get to building that brand voice is a similar journey. For your personal, you're going to look at all of the solutions that you have, the things that you have to offer to the world, the people who need to hear them. How do you want them to hear you? I talk about my own brand voice being, smart, fun, and inclusive. That's a big aspect of just me, Becky Freemal. I have a very strong value system that you can be smart and you can be fun at the same time. And I think that is a duo that people don't always allow. They feel like I have to be very serious and buttoned up. And that is not something that I view the world as, nor do I want the world to view me. Like when we get done with this, I don't want you to say she is an all buttoned up, serious kind of person. And I don't think you're going to. I just don't think you're going to feel that. An organization is no different. How are you going to show up for your customers? And then your brand voice also is how do you show up for your employees and for one another, your colleagues? You don't want to be one thing behind the white picket fence and then open the door to the world and be like, oh yeah, we're this, when behind the scenes we're something else. People feel that, that it's just like something doesn't feel right and they'll figure it out. So you want that flow from internal to external.
Oh, I love that so much. And like when people do, like I've had this happen to me before where somebody will meet me who maybe has seen our social or a video or been to a workshop or something. And then like behind the scenes with our team, they're like, Jennifer, you're actually how you were. Like, yes. I'm like, well, how else would I be? But it's a very real thing. I've seen this too, where like we put out this persona out to the outside world, but yet we're a different person when we're running our companies, how we're interacting with our teams. I think that might be one of the things I'm the most proud of, just like what you see is what you get. What's happening behind the scenes is what you're seeing out on the, the digital platforms. And our brand voice is professional and competent, but also friendly and approachable. And then we like to mix a little fun in there too, because it's one thing to like know your stuff, but so often that can be not very approachable. And so we really want to be super approachable and fun as well. And so when you start to like do this work, like, is there a trick or a tip that you could share on how do like start to identify or figure out what your brand voice is if you're not sure?
It would be dependent on where you are in your journey. So if you're a solopreneur who is just starting out, that's where your why and your purpose are going to be something you lean very heavily on. But the second you start to build out your solution and who the people are, your target audience, and how you want to show up, immediately start tracking data. Find out who, like, are the people you thought were going to listen? Are they actually listening? Or is it a different group? And is that a good or a bad thing? Just because it changed doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. You may have just opened the door to a whole new target audience or consumer base. It's all things you need to assess and to look at. If you are further along in your journey or you have a multi-million-dollar company, you're going to have all sorts of data, but you need to make sense of it. Everyone has data, and what are you doing with that data? And some of the clients I go to have a lot of data, but they don't know what to do with it. A great start that I tell people, start with your profit margin. And if you have multiple products, which one's bringing the biggest profit margin and why? I'm going to say why a million times when we talk about this, because it could be because it's the least expensive to make. Maybe the supply chain is easier and gets you to that point. Maybe it's because you charge more and it gives you more margins. Maybe it is because more people are buying it. You might find you have another product or service that maybe isn't selling as well. Does that mean you just kick it to the curb and say no? Not right off the bat. Absolutely not. Find out why, dig into the numbers and see where the profit margin might be lacking. And then that can also help you shore it up. Heck, if you figure out what the why is behind it, that one might leapfrog the other one and become your number one seller. Or you might decide, hey, you know what? This is not what our audience wants. We need to move on. That is all part of your story. Like, who are we talking to? And I know a lot of people say, treat people the way you want to be treated. And I don't think that's a wrong phrase. I just like to take it one step further and say, treat people the way they want to be treated. Because the way you think they want to be treated, you got to start somewhere. So sure, do that. But at the end of the day, you really need to listen and receive what they're saying and then find that solution and build that narrative. And that's when that connection and that trust really starts to grow. And at the end of the day, that storyline builds that connection, builds that trust. And if it's genuine and it's authentic, it's going to build your revenue. Your revenue is going to grow.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. And I love what you said also about it kind of depends on where you are in your journey. I've been in business for Jennifer Dawn Coaching for over a decade now. I don't know. We're probably pushing 12 years, something like that. And I find that I like to kind of revisit our brand message, our marketing, our voice. I like to revisit it at least once a year, just because the company does change. The company has grown. I started out as a solo female entrepreneur, and now I have a beautiful team. And so I do think it is important to just not try to get it perfect and figured out right at the beginning, or worry about it too much if you're still working on kind of honing it. Just give yourself some permission and space to kind of let it evolve. I think it's just so important because the company is going to change and grow, and as it does, so too shall your brand and your voice and those things. But one of the things I just did this year, because I literally was working on it this weekend, I'm I used AI to pop in here's our existing brand guide. I popped in a bunch of branding questions somebody had sent to me, and I'm I want to make sure I'm answering all these. Popped them into the AI, and I used AI to kind of interview me on what my answers were to these things, and then just really kind of crank out an updated document with our brand messaging. And it was just so useful and so helpful. And I know that you I don't know, how much are you using AI? Do you feel like that you can really still tell effective stories? I mean, sometimes I see things cranked out that are so mechanical and robotic. It's just or that they forgot to take out the prompts. I'm come on, guys, you got to clean it up a little bit here. But I'd love to hear what's your approach with AI? What do you recommend? Do you recommend people use it, not use it? Where do you stand there?
Oh, use it. Absolutely. I think that the sooner you jump on AI and start understanding how to use it, it's the how you do it and how you do it based on what you need. At the end of the day, AI is going to help us with those mundane, repetitive tasks. So it frees up time for humans to do what we do best, which is to build that trust and to connect with people on that human level.
Yeah.
So think of AI as that time suck you have. And it's hey, I got you. You got that white page in front of you and you've got that blank page, writer's block happening. And you're oh, where do I start? Pop in some thoughts. Like you said, have AI interview you. Hey, this is what I'm looking for this. And I need this content. This is the end goal, no matter what, whether you're talking to AI, a CEO of for a new client that you just brought on board, you always want to find out what the end goal is so you can build a path to get there. AI is no different. Tell AI, this is where I want to get to. This is the end goal. It's a LinkedIn post. This is the feel. I don't want it to be too salesy. I want to be thought leadership, whatever it might be. And you might have a sales one. You might be hey, this particular LinkedIn post is going to be more sales feeling. I want it to be promotional. These are what I want to get across. And you back and forth and you go back and forth. And then when I do that, when I have those moments that I need AI to help get that writer block off, then I pluck it, put it into a Google Doc or whatever. And then I absolutely rework it. But I add my brand voice. I do all of those things as well.
Yeah, I rework it as well. But my gosh, it just saves me so much time and effort. And I wrote a post on LinkedIn the other day. It was my husband and I's wedding anniversary. And I did a post about our wedding anniversary. And he read it and he was man, honey, you did such a good job of writing that. I'm well, the truth is. I did tell AI, I want to write a post, and I was not pretty. I just vomited out the information. Like, I want to write a post, and here's the things I want to make sure we mention, and blah, 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 blah. And so I really did give it a lot of prompting, but it was not pretty, not formatted. And it just turned it around and cranked it out to where my own husband didn't realize that I had used AI to help me write it. And that was so great. I was just like, yes, like what a time saver. But I really did have to prompt it with me of here's what I want to talk about. And I've given AI, I've trained it up pretty good in like what I want my brand voice to be. And even when it cranks out a post for me, and like you said, I put it in a Google Doc, I rework it, I always upload my final version back to AI to say, hey, here's what I went with. And I find that it learns and it gets smarter, and it just starts cranking out stuff more and more in alignment with what you're looking for. So I'm so glad you said, I just think it's one of the most useful tools, especially in marketing today, that just helps us do so much more with less time.
Well, and think about the fact that, we're talking about generative AI. There's also the note taking and Fathom and Otter. And I've used video editing AI where we do this and then you put the recording into it and it gives you like 12 social media clips for 10 to 12 seconds each. And is it perfect? No, I did it one time and it gave me like, I don't know, half of the clips, or just a little less than half of me asking the question. I'm like, okay, that's not what I really want. I really want it Jennifer and this, not me asking the question, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's only getting smarter by the minute. So, but there's
and you talk so much about data, and you can take that data and upload it to AI and ask it to analyze for you, which I just am so like, thank you, because it will see things that we don't always see. And whether we choose to take its advice or not, or whatever we want to pull from it, like it can be very time consuming to analyze data. And even then we may not really get the whole picture. So even taking things like, transcripts from sales call recordings, transcripts from podcast recordings, like just, this kind of data, you can upload your financial information into it. I just had a client the other day. He's so funny. He sent it to me because he was on our cruise retreat and we did a workshop on AI. So he went home and he's like, you know what? I'm going to check out more of this AI thing. And he uploaded all of his financials and asked it to analyze it. And he sent it back to me and he's like, he was blown away because he's like, it analyzed all my products, all my profit margins, told me like where to, go, where to stop. Now, one of the things it did do was it told him to have a website for every one of his products. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. So you got to be careful. Like you still got to use the human brain here a little bit, but all that data analysis, it can just shorten that curve so much of just like, here's the data, analyze it for me and tell me what you see. I think in many ways it can just help to make us smarter.
Can we back the bus up to, I heard cruise retreat. Do you do cruise retreats? That is amazing.
Yes, back that bus up. We do retreats twice a year. I think it's so important to take time out of your day-to-day and to go somewhere fabulous and beautiful. And we combine beautiful locations with business retreats. And we just did a cruise to the Western Caribbean, Mexico, Honduras, and Belize. Our next one, we're going to Alaska. We're so excited. We're actually just getting ready to launch the marketing for Alaska. It's happening over the 4th of July, 2025. And then we're going back to Costa Rica in October of next year. So yes, you heard that right. And it's so great as a business owner to get a little vacation, to get some education, to work on your business, be with amazing people. And that's what we do on our retreats.
Well, and I know I'm supposed to be answering that ask, but I've got to ask you what your secret is to 12 years of success. That is amazing.
Oh my goodness. I think I'm just too stupid to stop. No, I'm kidding. I'm just persistent and driven. But the other thing is like, I found my purpose. I love what I do. It doesn't always feel like work. Sometimes the day-to-day logistics of running the business can feel like work, but my clients are amazing. The work we do is amazing. I love getting results for our clients. Just all of our services are all tailored to business owners. And even the retreats, I have found, like, I used to think retreats were silly, like a waste of time and, come on, like give me a break. But now that I've started hosting them, they're even so beneficial for me leading the retreats to get out of my day-to-day, think about things in a different way. So that twice a year of just taking those breaks, that has been instrumental in just really elevating my success and my love for the business, and just really that the longevity of everything, making it a lot more fun, right? To own a
Yes.
business, because it just doesn't have to be this horrible drudgery all the time.
Exactly. I love it. And I think getting away, I mean, that's a big part with branding and marketing. You get in the rat race and you're, to your point, day-to-day business operations, whatnot. That's why marketing is so important, to just take that step away if you're the marketer. And if you're the CEO, to at whatever stage in where you are in your business, to be like, okay, I need to stop doing all the things. Let's move marketing under someone who does marketing. And then the CEO remains that fresh mind to say, hey, these are the things that I like. Or, hey, we have a junior level marketing team, but we're not quite getting that strategy. I mean, all of those things, they're nuances, but they're so important in those moments to step away are a key part of getting to that.
Oh, I agree. And you're going to love this. So one of the last things what we usually do at our retreats is an ask session. So near the end of the retreat, once everybody really gets to know each other, you can ask for something that you want. And so this last time I asked everybody to give me 1 or 2 words to describe my brand to them. Like, what does my brand feel like to you? And to have the whole room go around and give me that feedback, because we put this stuff out of what we want our brand to be and what we think our brand should be, but how people are actually receiving that and how they feel about it, if we're not taking the time to ask, we can really get off track. And so it was such a great exercise to just go around the room and really hear, because some things came up that I was like, man, that's awesome. And it wasn't even on my radar of how people resonate with the JDC brand. So, and I'm sure you're a marketing expert, like I'm sure you guide people to like get the feedback from people, because that was just so valuable to me to really hear how the brand is really landing with our clients, versus me just sort of like, I think this is how it should land. I think.
What did you hear? What was their feedback?
We got a lot around caring, of like, this is a brand that actually cares. And I think that sometimes in the coaching industry, you get coaches who don't really care. They just sort of want the money and that's it. And so, and I've had coaches like that too. And so we got that we cared, and we got value. Value came back of like, hey, all the value that you're packing into a coaching package was really, really helpful. And another area was, Jennifer, you guys don't just like talk about these things, because a coach will coach you, right? So traditional coaching is, let me ask you questions and help you figure it out for yourself. I would say we're a hybrid of a coach, a mentor, and a consultant. And so we've developed a lot of tools to actually help our clients execute. And so that was the other thing of like, hey, you have so many tools to help us really execute and get it done, versus just like showing up to a coaching call and getting quote coached. So those were really good things for me to just be like, all right, the value is obviously there. It's so important for me, for our clients to feel like we really care. One of the best testimonials I ever got was, if you're ready to grow your business with your best friend at your side, you're ready for Jennifer Dawn coaching. And I'm like, yes, like that's what I want people to feel when they work with me and my team, that they're so supported and we super care for them. And we are there through the hard part of like getting, doing the work and getting that result. So it was really good to hear those things like coming back at me, and even in a way that I hadn't quite fully hadn't quite realized.
Yeah. And that's all feedback. When we talk about data and branding, it's not just quantitative, it's qualitative. You need both. If I could speak, that'd be half the battle. You need both, qualitative and quantitative. And that's a great example. Now you can take all of that feedback. Yes, in the business world, we call it customer discovery, but at the end of the day, it's just listening. You're just listening. Yeah. What do they want? What do they care about? What is their why? And is your why and their why align? Do you have a solution that's really, truly going to solve the challenge or problem they have? Because if not, then you're just a mismatch. You don't want a client that you're not able to help, and they don't want someone that they're spending money on who can't help them. So it just also helps you evolve and to move into the right client spaces and to get that right target audience. So yeah, you can take all that. That's great feedback for your brand voice and the evolution of it as you move forward. I love it.
Yeah. And then you feed it into AI and you're like, hey, what do you think about this?
Absolutely. I would absolutely do that.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Before we run out of time, Becky, tell us a little bit about your book. And when people buy your book, like what help can they expect to get from it?
I think it's been really cool feedback, Jennifer, since I launched it. It went live, or, we published it back in July of 2024. And I have gotten a lot of feedback from people that I wasn't expecting expecting, which was they were pictures of highlighted and squiggle, like make sure I remember this paragraph and notes out in the margin. And someone's like, it's almost turning into a workbook. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And noted, maybe for a future product. But I think the fact that it is really helping maybe everybody, but also maybe those smaller solopreneurs, because as a fractional chief marketing officer and growth strategist, my kind of spiel, if you will, the elevator pitch for any fractional CMO is, hey, if you don't want that top heaviness of a full-time C-suite, it doesn't mean that you have to go without the strategy. You can hire fractionals, whether it's a fractional marketing officer or a fractional chief operating officer, all the way down the line of the C-suite. But solopreneurs, heck, myself, I wouldn't hire a fractional right now as a solopreneur because it's a little too top heavy for me at the moment. But this book solves that problem also. So it gave me that ability to kind of stepstone who I could help. I found a lot of people asking for my services and then thinking, well, we're not quite there yet, or we don't quite have, the resources to bring on a fractional. And I thought, yeah, but they still need this help. And I would love to give and often do my advice and my work for free. But at the end of the day, we do live in a capitalistic society and I have a mortgage to pay. So I have to balance those conflicts in my brain. And so the book was a great way to do that. This book really does allow people to understand what a brand voice is, why you need it, and how it is such an integral strategic piece of your business plan as you move forward. And the sooner you get it, the better. But in the same breath, don't panic if you don't have your brand voice, and don't panic if you haven't done anything with your data for 10 years. Today is the best day to start. You know what I mean? You can start at any time.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay, you guys, so absolutely get out there, grab a copy of Becky's book, Brand Voice, People Plus Data Drive Results. If you want to dive into this topic or more further, Becky, you and I are the same. I would give everything away for free if I could, right? If I didn't have 2 horses and a barn to pay for, like, man, yeah, expensive hobbies. It's just like, boy, but I literally have to remove myself from certain things in the company because it's just like, I will give it all away. I'm not the best person to do that. I love that you mentioned that. So I feel very good that I'm not alone in this like desire to just be like, I'll just help you. No problem.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. All right. Where can everybody go to find you as well if they are interested in fractional CMO services?
The easiest one, I have 2 website sites, but the easiest is BeckyFreemal.com. That gives you all the different things. It allows you to understand the market exact work that I do, which is the fractional chief marketing officer and growth strategy. And it also, I do the speaking engagements and I lead workshops. So all of that is on that page, because that also, you got the book. You can just do a half-day session with me. You could do a keynote with me. I have all the different levels all the way up to fractional CMO. So BeckyFreemal.com has it all.
Beautiful. Wonderful. All right, guys, get out there and check out Becky. We will also put her information in the show notes as well. Becky, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Oh, Jennifer, thanks for having me. This was a wonderful way to start my day.
Oh, yay. I love hearing that. And everybody who's listening in on this episode, you guys know where I'm going next. It's don't sit back and just listen and not take action. I know that you learned something from today's episode, and I want you to just take whatever it is, even if it's just one thing, and put it into action. And that's really how you're going to get the result. So if you need to work on your brand voice, if it's grabbing Becky's book and reading further, whatever that is for you, or maybe it's time to hire a fractional CMO, who knows, whatever it is. But if you don't take that action, you're not getting the result. That's it. Do something. Thank you guys for listening today. And that's it for today's show. Get out there now and have a happy, productive day. Bye, y'all.